Yeah. You'll come to figure new stable. Your new stable. New jet is good. Touchdown confirmed. Proceed.
Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Yes, it's the Skeptic Zone, episode number 199. 199. For the 11th of August, 2012. Richard Saunders here with you from a very, very windy Sydney, Australia. There are trees coming down, power lights have come down, houses are in blackouts. It's blowing a gale outside. Now, that little clip just before the introduction music was, you would have guessed, the landing of Curiosity, the new rover on Mars. I went to the Sydney Observatory, where in one of their sort of lecture rooms there, they had a big screen set up, and the room was absolutely packed with people biting their nails as the little Curiosity went down through the Martian surface. Very exciting, very exciting. Cannot wait to see the images and even the video that's going to be coming back from Mars over the next weeks, months, and hopefully years. But now on to this week's episode of the Skeptic Zone. More from Maynard, of course. More from Maynard from the amazing meeting. This week, Maynard catches up with Bob Novella. Bob Novella, one of the great rogues from the Skeptics Guide to the Universe. Then has a quick chat with a good friend of ours, one of the Melbourne skeptics, Linley, or Posty Linley as she's known. And following that, he catches up with Sharon Hill from Doubtful News. Wow, anybody who is anybody is at the amazing meeting. Sharon Hill from Doubtful News. And then Maynard visits the Friday-the-Thirteenth room at TAM and chats to Margaret Downey. Then after the break, I catch up with Liam Jones, an Australian living in Las Vegas who's going to tell us about student activism and some websites. And then, to wrap up the show, wow, this one's a bit out of left field. The other night at Sydney Skeptics in the pub, where I gave a little talk about the amazing meeting, we had a palm reader and her husband come along. A palm reader. Now they end up telling Maynard all about the claim, the palm reading claim, how it works, their experiences, and they even read Maynard's palm and then go on to read the palm of Iran Segev, who was there. So, now, here's the lesson. Have a listen. Have a listen to what the palm reader and her husband say. Have a listen. If you think you're a good skeptic and you know your skeptical chops and you know your logical fallacies and how arguments work and you think you can suss out what's happening with claims of the paranormal, have a listen to what these people have to say. What do you think is going on? What do you think is going on? Why are they making such a claims? What has led them to believe that they have magical powers to read palms? Have a listen. It's a good lesson for skeptics out there. So this episode of the Skeptic Zone will really get you thinking, I promise you that. At the end of the show, I'll come back with a few more announcements of some websites that you might find interesting. But for now, I'm going to run downstairs. I'm going to walk downstairs. I had an email from somebody saying, do I really run down the stairs? That is a bit dangerous. I'm going to walk carefully down those stairs. I'm going to reach for a nice glass of white wine from New Zealand. They make some pretty damn good white wines. I'm going to come back upstairs, relax in my favourite chair, and we can all enjoy the Skeptic Zone.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Well, Well, listener, as you know, not many podcasts have their own room. I was in this room briefly last night with George Harab. We're mainly doing whiskey shots because he has this illusion. He has this illusion that he doesn't drink alcohol. It's completely false. But here we are in the SGU room, Skeptics Guide to the Universe. Actually, SGU does sound like an acronym they'd use on Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, like Spectrum is Green or something like that. But I'm here with Mr. Bob Novella. Hi, Bob. How are you?
Great, Maynard. How are you?
Oh, look, I'm fine. This is my first TAM, but this is like money for old rope for you guys. How many TAMs have you guys been to as the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe?
Well, we came into TAM 5, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 6. This is our 6th one, and we love it. We would not miss it for the world. It's the best.
Now, look, most listeners would know to our show who you are, and also you're a bit of the gold standard as far as it is a skeptical podcast. Like, people compare their show to yours, they always reference yours as an influence. And have you heard your show mentioned in an area where you go, wow, I didn't know that person listened?
Let's see. You mean like just what? Well, okay, yeah. Every now and then we'll meet people and we get real excited because of who they are and the fact that they like our show. Like Chris Ford, we met a couple of years ago. He told us that he and there's a bunch of people at Pixar that listened to our show, and that, of course, we got extremely excited because Pixar is Pixar.
Yeah, didn't you guys get to visit there recently?
Yeah, we went last week. We met Chris Ford and others at Pixar, and they gave us a fantastic tour of the facility and their building. And oh my God, it was definitely one of the high points of this entire trip. It was fantastic.
Look, there's lots of memes on your show. One of my favourites that always pops up is whenever there's some pareidolia going on, you bring up the spectre of Hoagland. Now, could you explain who Hoagland is to the listener?
He's a guy that he's known as the face on Mars guy. He looks and studies images of things on Mars, and the one that everyone knows about is the face on Mars, and he thinks it's the product of an ancient civilization, and if you look at it, yeah, you can see it looks like a face. It's really quite striking. And when NASA found it, they were like, "Oh wow, look at that thing!" And they printed the image, and it was really a sensation. I think it was in the 70s, but everyone knew that this is just pareidolia. This is just an artifact of a low resolution image, taken with specific lighting. And of course, years later, when we sent another probe to orbit Mars and look at it in high resolution in similar lighting conditions, you could see that this is just like a butte. It's like a little mini mountain structure that's projecting up, and clearly it wasn't a face or the product of any ancient civilization. But Hoagland just loves writing and talking about the fact that all these artifacts on the moon came from an ancient civilization, not just the face on Mars. He points to all these other objects that to him are anomalous, but they're really not anomalous, pointing to a civilization and structures, and it's really a complicated mess that all based on mistaken identities, on pareidolia.
And what do you think is the most exciting thing you guys have uncovered on your show during the 6-year history? I mean, because there are a couple of ones, things that you've actually got to before other people have or talked about, in the science realm.
Oh wow, uncovered. Yeah. Like what do you mean? Because
often you guys get the science magazines as soon as they're out, and you will often have them on your podcast before other people will, and you'll get a bit of a stir going about it if there's a new development or something like that. I mean, with the whole CERN thing, I mean, I'm frankly disappointed that neutrinos don't travel faster than light. I thought we would have a time machine by sometime next year if this was the case.
Yeah, I don't think we necessarily get news items any sooner than most other people, but we try to be timely. We record the show once a week, so I'm generally looking like the night before. I'll look at a news item so that by the time it gets out a few days later, it'll be people. Most people will not have heard of it. So that's the hope.
There's a lot of anger on your show with the way mainstream media, like such as myself sometimes, have to cover these things because there's a rush, there's a deadline, and things like the Daily Telegraph in the UK, they just don't check their facts, and I get a real anger from the panel, and that's real.
Yeah, and it's not just the rush to get things out. It's the fact that all these organizations are shrinking their staff, and a lot of the science reporters just aren't there anymore. So you've got someone who might cover, home and garden topics one day, and then the next day he jumps on a science topic that he's not a science journalist. So he's just not prepared to handle it and interpret it properly, and to even give it a good title, an appropriate title. One of the more frustrating things for me is to look at a title of these news items and think, wow, that's interesting. I got to check that out, and then come to find out that the title has really no relation to the science on the inside, and the science itself is pretty poor. So it's just a matter of there's not enough really hardcore science journalists out there anymore, because it's just such a shrinking industry that it's just so frustrating for us. But it is fun to point out stuff like that for me. So it's kind of, it is. It's definitely a lot of content.
This is where skeptical thinking would come in generally, because like if someone goes along to interview a scientist or someone who's trying to push a product or the head of a company about a science issue, you've got to talk with them. Then you've got to figure out what they were saying and try and work out some other sources to get almost a rebuttal, to try and work out if what they're saying is even half real. And sometimes you don't have time. So you've got to know very quickly how to sniff it out.
Yeah, it is, and that's why it's so important to really be familiar with the field you're reporting on, because if you're starting from ground zero, there's really just way too much research and work for you to do in order to really give that news item the appropriate treatment. So if you can come to a news story with a really solid background, then you're so much more better prepared to report on it properly without having to spend weeks in research just to get up to speed on what's a boson, what's going on with that, so that's why it's so much better to come to the table already prepared in terms of just a basic science background, so that it's not so easily for you to swallow some of the stuff that they're throwing out there.
And what kind of emails do you get? You must get a lot of emails from your listeners very happy with the show, and then you get emails that isn't a complaint, it's not a compliment, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Do you get a lot of emails like that? Because there are a lot of listeners like that.
Oh, yeah. The overall majority of our emails are fantastic. People are just saying that they love the show, obviously, and that they'll relate a story to us that we might be interested in talking about on the podcast, or the ones that we especially like are the ones that people are saying that how we really affected their lives, the course of their education. Some people will say that I'm studying physics and nanotechnology because of you, or the real surprising ones are where they come back and say that I was at the far end of the spectrum, into the woo, deep, really deep, and because of you guys, I've completely turned around and I'm a skeptic now. I'm not sure why they listen to us in the first place, because generally you don't listen to people who are 180 degrees away from your beliefs, which is it's a good thing to do, but not many people do it. But those kinds of emails are fantastic. But of course, there's a small smattering of emails where they're just kind of very mean, and some of them are really incomprehensible. And we just we email each other's back and forth saying, "What's this guy talking about?" And we can't even figure out what he was talking about. And when you get so many emails, there's bound to be a small percentage that are just wacky and off the wall.
Yeah,
so
what I've always I thought, okay, if you don't like a show, you just stop listening, and you might write a little letter to them saying why you don't like the show. Yeah. But why you would repeatedly keep writing to a show saying you don't like it, I've never been able to figure out why you do that.
Yeah, I haven't done a study to find out how many repeat emails we get, but some people love most of the show, and certain aspects of the show they don't like. So maybe they're listening to it for what they really like, say science or fiction and the science news, but other aspects they don't like. And that's fine. It's hard to please. It's hard to have people love all parts of your entire show, and that's okay. Just fast forward it past the stuff you don't like. And if you don't like one of the personalities on the show, well, that's okay too. Just fast forward past him or her.
Yeah. Now, how do you think you have opened the door for people to get interested in science? What do you think it is about your show that has fired them off? Because like you said, they've had to find the show in the first place, and then you've interested them in specific areas of science, not just generally. Do you have any idea how you've done that?
The chemistry among all of us, I think, is one of the main reasons where we've achieved the popularity that we have. Jay, Steve, and I, we grew up together, so we're all on such similar wavelengths, and we've been chatting about this kind of stuff for years. So this is something that we've done for so long that it's very easy for us to get into these conversations. And then, of course, Evan and Rebecca, we all just kind of fit together so well, and our chemistry is so good that people pick up on it. And we've been told that people feel like they're like the the person in the room that's not talking and just listening to the conversation. They really feel engaged and part of it. And from my point of view, the science. If you like science, I try to pick items that are really interesting to me, and hopefully more interesting to other people. And I think they're picking up on that. I try to explain this stuff in ways that make it interesting and fun. And
you completely ruined Prometheus for me. Like between you and George Harab, that's it. I'm going to have to watch it on a hotel at 3 a.m. or on a plane. You ruined it for me, man.
Maybe you shouldn't. I know that was a very frustrating movie, and even opinions amongst us. Jay reviled it. He really hated that movie. But for me, I think I mentioned on the show, there was some great stuff to it in terms of just visually. The cinematography was beautiful. The special effects were fantastic, but other parts were just really, really bad. So we tried to mention all that so you could judge it on your own. Like if you're the kind of person that can go to a movie and appreciate the movie visually, then yeah, go see it. But if you're really turned off by the bad signs, which we all are, but to a really great degree, then maybe wait till it comes on cable if you want to see it. But yeah, it was a frustrating movie, very frustrating that they're not taking the science as seriously as they should, especially Ridley Scott. Look at his Blade Runner. Alien, I expected a lot more from him, especially from the characterizations and the acting and the story. I was disappointed with that. So, yeah. Frustrating.
And Bob Novella, you're a huge Carl Sagan fan, and I bought Demon Haunted World at TAM Australia, and I found it a difficult book to finish because I found the ideas and concepts were in there, but I found it a little dry for me. And as an entrance to skepticism, it was a little bit dry. I don't know why that was the case. And keeping that in mind, are you worried about what might happen with the redoing of Cosmos with Seth Green involved with it?
I'm not too worried. What I know about the personalities involved, I think they're going to do a fantastic job. And also I think that there's a great opportunity to appeal to younger kids that might look at Carl Sagan's show from from the 70s or the 80s?
Oh yeah, I think late 70s, early 80s. Yeah,
they might look at that and just be turned off just because it's so old.
The turtleneck might turn them off. Yeah.
Right. Even the fashion might turn them off. But to bring Sagan's ideas and beliefs to a new generation like that, I think it's worth it. And from what I know of the people involved, I think they're going to do a fantastic job. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm really excited to see it, and I can't wait for it to come out.
And so I found Demon Haunted World a little dry. Is there any other skeptic book you could recommend for me, or for the beginner listener out there going, oh yeah, I'd like to dive into a bit of reading?
Well, I've got to recommend Flim Flam. Come on, there you go. Randy's a fantastic book. If you want a fantastic primer for science, for skepticism, I would say just go right to that. I can't recommend too many books more than that.
And look, why aren't you guys bigger? Why aren't you on terrestrial radio? Why aren't we seeing photos of you guys on billboards going, "Science is good for you, shut up," that sort of thing?
It's just what we. Because so many things sell so much better than what what are we selling here? We're selling
you're selling critical thinking, and people hear that and they go, oh, I've got to do thinking. And I think that's always a problem, isn't it?
Right, it is a problem, and people that sell hope. How do you compete with people that sell these scams and these books and this nonsense that offering hope? How do you compete with that? You really can't.
It reminds me like that scene in the Muppets movie where they're trying to sell their show to the network in the latest Muppet movie. I can see all the SGU people lined up there. And we're going to teach people to think out of the office. I can see it something like that, And then the next person comes in and they've got a little pill. Here's the show. You're signed, that kind of thing, Yeah. No silver bullet with your show.
No, it isn't. It takes dedication. It takes the desire and the appreciation of critical thinking and science. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't have that. So it's hard to appeal to a broad audience. Like the Jersey Shore. How do you compete with those demographics? These people. It's really hard. It's really hard.
Well, I'm sure Rebecca's drinking as much as she can.
Well, yeah, there's that. But yeah, the hope is that as time goes on, more and more people will appreciate the value of critical thinking, especially with all these scams and people losing money. Maybe they'll start appreciating more the fact that what you can achieve if you're just a good critical thinker. And so yeah, there's always that hope. And but I think it's going to be hard for a long, long time to compete with to have such broad appeal that other aspects of our culture have. It's just a part of human nature, and we got to try to rise above that.
Look, thank you for the time today. Look, there's no chance you're actually having Eric von Daniken on your show sometime in the near future as a guest at a Rogue, is it?
I'm not sure if he's on our list, but I'll check the list and see if I can get him on there.
There's a few people in front of him.
Yeah, there is a few people.
It is indeed. And look at that, we're all the way here in Las Vegas, but it's none other than Posty Linley.
Hello, Maynard.
So this is a little bit off your normal postal route, isn't it?
A lot off my different postal route.
Hey, do you think that the American postal, we could learn something from the American postal system, has some of their mailmen use segways? How do you reckon a segway would go in Australia to deliver mail? I mean, I know they're illegal because you can't use them on the footpath or on the road, but do you think they'd be more effective as a delivery vehicle for mail as compared to the old postie bike?
Not when the American Post Office is nearly out of business.
Yes, but that's only because they had to pay their superannuation many years in advance. So they actually do make a profit, but it goes into the superannuation fund that they've been forced to pay.
I know they're trying to get us all on push bikes. That's too hard. Too much work.
Now, what are you looking forward to this year?
This year at TAM?
Yeah.
Or at,
and by the way, to paint you a picture, Posty Linley has 2 drinks, 1 drink in each hand, and both those glasses are pretty much half empty, people.
And full of vodka.
Yeah. So what are you really looking to see?
Definitely Penn and Teller's Bacon and Donut Party.
Which is tomorrow night?
Which is tomorrow night, and they'll have both male and female strippers, and that'll be fun.
Well, both sorts of strippers.
Both sorts of strippers.
Well, they could probably have a transgender one as well.
Yeah, definitely. That'll go down well.
That would be very cool.
And
now,
I just saw Heather Henderson somewhere before too. She's got a little mohawk. She looks fantastic.
Who is?
She plays in Penn's band. I can't remember what she plays, but she sings as well. So she looks.
She's a famous atheist, isn't she?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. I'll be looking forward to talking to her.
I'm ready to start.
Yeah, something's happening.
Love you, Maynard.
Well, it's finally happening. A whole bunch of people hanging around waiting for Brian Dunning to appear. How disappointed are you?
I've already seen Brian today.
Oh, really? Was he driving a cab, was he?
No, he was checking in the hotel, yes.
And tell us who you are and why you're here.
I'm Sharon Hill. I run the Doubtful News website.
That's a great website and a great nice Twitter feed.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, we work really hard on it. It's all the cool skeptic news, the weird news, the stuff you don't want to know but need to know.
And where is it? How can we find it? Tell us. I want to know. I really want to know.
That's doubtfulnews.com. And I know some people have trouble spelling doubt. DOUBTFUL.com.
So you have a whole stack of stuff on your Twitter feed. What's the woo that really annoys you?
Oh, boy. We started on Bigfoot for a while. And the Bigfoot news got so weird that we had to stop covering it because we had, libel threats. Bigfoot is now a casualty of the Colorado fires. He was burned in the fires. And there's rumors that, there was Bigfoot shot and killed. The news just got so weird.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Is it cryptozoology or cryptozoology?
Well, that depends on how conceited you want to make it.
Oh,
yes.
I'm quite up myself.
Sure. Then it's zoology.
Okay.
Yes.
Because the second O is in ology.
That's right. That's right. So if you want to be very scientifical and particular about it, you can call it cryptozoology.
Okay, so Bigfoot's pretty wild, but what's the strangest one you've had? The Tunguska event, something turned up from the grassy knoll. What's one of the strangest ones you've had recently?
Oh, boy. There's been some, you never know what you're going to come up with, but people say that UFOs are watching our nuclear facilities here in the U.S.
It's probably something an interplanetary visitor would like to have a look at. If we stuff it up, it's a big thing.
We just never know what we're going to find.
As anyone who's ever watched Land of the Giants, that Irwin Allen classic, they used to shoot their nuclear waste into space, and that's why the giant people were really angry with the little Earth people.
Well, that's a good story. Yeah, that's a very good story. I like that one.
Yeah. Yes. But what's the one that makes you see red? What makes you shake your fist at the television?
Anti-vax. Anti-vax, very much so. When you're talking about lives at stake, that really makes me angry.
Yeah, this is kind of one I don't make too many jokes about because it is that way. Yeah, I mean UFOs, other stuff. Yeah, and what's the harm? Yeah, but with anti-vax, yeah. And in this area where we are, Nevada, what is the vaccination rate around here? Is this a bit of a hippie-trippy place like California?
The population is kind of low in Nevada in general. Las Vegas, Reno has got a few big cities, but otherwise the people are like really, really spread out. I'm actually from Pennsylvania.
Oh.
And
Bethlehem, are you near Georgia Up?
About 2 hours away.
No, that's a good distance to be from him, you know. Otherwise, he'll shave your head.
I've been there a couple times to visit. I've been to Geologic Central there.
Wow,
yes.
Okay, wow.
Once before.
Hey, so tell us, what's George Rubb's house like?
I wasn't in his house. I was
hoping you might have had a poster of Eric Von Daniken or something up there.
I was interviewing misinformation. So
you only hear you hear it in the background. I don't. Is she going to be here this year?
I don't think she's here this year, but she's such a doll. Yeah.
Oh, I hear she's incredibly cute, that's for sure. She's smart, she's cute, she talks in the background, she writes everything for George. He hasn't had an original idea since 85, I believe. She's written everything for him since then.
I'm not skeptical of that at all.
Yeah. Actually, what is this? What do you get out of a weekend like this? What everybody here, a whole bunch of people like. I mean, I am insistent that Adam West was the best Batman ever. And, and Shatner was the best Kirk ever. And I could be in for a bit of trouble this weekend.
Yes, you're probably right. You'll find some diverse opinions.
You're a Christian Bale Batman, are you?
Oh, how did you know? How did you know?
You just tell.
Yeah, yes, I am.
Does anyone ever say George Clooney was one, wasn't he? Does anyone ever say George Clooney was the best Batman? Never.
I don't think that was his best work.
No.
So it's kind of forgettable. Yeah. But you're right. He was a pretty good one, I'd say. Yeah.
Well, look, have a great time, and it's time for me to have some drinking. And by the way, what is a skeptical drink?
I don't know. It's a wide variety. Some of us don't drink at all. Wine, beer, mixed drinks. We got the whole array here.
Jet lag and wine, fantastic combination.
I can imagine.
Well, hang on. I've been doing something. Hang on a minute. Hang on. It's well worth it. This prop is well worth it. There you go. There you go.
I love it.
There you go. That basically means your time's up. And what are you looking forward to? What speaker this weekend is going to be? I mean, Dr. Rachie, obviously, because she's got some naked soccer players she's going to show on the big screen there, but is there something you're looking for?
Anyone in particular? Bruce Hood. Professor Bruce Hood. Wow. I'm a big fan of his. Yes, I love listening to him. He's going to be talking on Friday, imagine, about his new book. Yeah.
And, by the way, the person you're listening to is wearing a Kiss T-shirt.
Yes. With the little bears. Yeah, I like things that are original.
So, one last question. I Was Made for Loving You, a sellout or not?
Oh, man. Yes.
Wow.
But it was still good. Yeah. I still love that song.
See, even when they do sellouts, they do it well.
Yeah. Where's the roller skates? We were supposed to be roller skating up the halls to Xanadu, right?
I was about to say Xanadu. Yes, all over the world. Olivia,
yes. Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think I need to drink some more.
Yeah.
Now, what's the website again?
Doubtfulnews.com. Here is my card.
My first card of the weekend.
Yeah,
exciting.
Sometimes we carry these ID cards, we throw them out, we hand them out to people so they don't forget us.
Can you explain Richard Saunders' haircut?
I haven't seen Richard yet. He has a new haircut? Or is just his regular haircut?
It's very Breakfast Club.
Oh, I can't wait.
Look, Richard, you've just brought me into this very strange room here. I thought it was a room that wasn't finished yet because there's a ladder in the middle of it.
There's Maynard, and today happens to be Friday the 13th, we're at the amazing meeting, of course, and there's a little room set aside here off the main corridor full of the most interesting items spread out. There's food spread out before us. There's a Ouija board Over in the corner, there's an 8-ball, a ladder, as you mentioned before. I have to wonder, Maynard, horseshoes, what's going on?
Well, just behind me, there's a nurse. Well, certainly someone who is dressed like one. Who have we got here?
Hello, my name is Margaret Downey, and I am the Friggatriskaidekaphobia treatment nurse. And you are in the Friggatriskaidekaphobia Treatment Center.
Oh, I saw the sign out the front, and I knew it meant something. I thought it might have been, is this fear of water, what it was? And, well, tell us all about it.
Okay, this is for people who have fear and trepidation about Friday-the-13th. So we invite them in for a little treatment. We put them through an obstacle course, and we have them sign up to break, for instance, the Mayan calendar piñata. And one lucky person, will be selected this afternoon to do that. And we also pick one lucky person to break a mirror. And, of course, we don't believe in 7 years bad luck.
Wow.
So,
although I do have to admit, having a bit of a fear of the Ouija board for some reason. There's something about potentially contacting another realm that it fires up in me. Now, I don't know why this is, and have you got an explanation to why I may be feeling that way?
Well, let me give you a CAT scan and see what's going on.
Wow, that's a nice cat you just held up in front of me there. I guess you had to give up on the real one because they wouldn't cooperate, would they?
Exactly, but look what your mind revealed. You have secret superstitions hidden in your brain, and I know that going through the treatment center you have butterflies in your stomach.
Wow, that's uncanny.
Well, please help yourself to free literature and look at all the museum setups, because we talk about food-related superstitions, animal-related superstitions, and all superstitions in between.
Well, now there must be somewhere online we can share in this kind of thing.
Yes, I have a website. So please visit the Friggatriskaidekaphobia.com website.
Is there that much room in a browser URL to...
You know, if you put FRIGG in there, it'll come up automatically, and you'll get right to my website. And I love to share my ideas about throwing parties, teaching critical thinking skills through the use of this particular idea. So duplicate it all over the world.
Actually, in the US, what is the most common superstition in this room that people seem to believe in?
Well, actually, the fear of Friday the 13th has a strange impact on the economy. People don't buy houses, people don't buy cars, they don't get married. They postpone all these major decisions, even whether they're going to pursue a career. They think it's unlucky to start on a Friday the 13th. Hotels don't even have the 13th floor.
I kind of go the other way because I was born on a 13, so I kind of like it as a bit of a lucky day for me, but I thought that was just me. So that really people do postpone major decisions.
Yes, and it impacts our economy. So we want to put a stop to it.
Because there is some practical belief to some of them, like walking under a ladder, people might be doing something above it and could fall on you, so there is that.
Oh, well, that's common sense. You don't want to walk under a ladder with a heavy pail that's perched on top, of course. So when it makes sense, you need to abide by certain precautions, but don't necessarily stop doing something. If it's not real, you need to question that. Also, you must stop by and trash your horoscope, because we believe that we must stop prejudices, and people who abide by horoscopes and the astrological signs are being prejudiced against those people that they try to categorize, you see. There's no such thing as categorizing yourself according to stars in the sky. It's nonsense. And then we also fight against prejudice against black cats.
Yeah,
it's time to stop that.
Yeah, and look, particularly big... Oh, look, sir, I believe you just took your life in your hands and walked under a ladder.
As I do every time I cross the street.
Wow, okay. So how do you feel?
About the same as I did before.
Okay. Well, thank you. Wow, that's a lot of brave people come in here, don't they?
Well, I'm going to give this man a clean bill of mental health for having gone through our obstacle course. And what it says is that he has gone through his test, and he now has no fear of Friday the 13th, and he's going to rely on intelligence and the scientific method for decision making.
Wow. That's probably the best way to do it, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go over here and am I going to get a bit of a... What am I going to get?
Meet our Miss Fortune Teller.
Hello, Miss Fortune Teller.
Magdalena.
Oh, and which university did you go to get your PhD in fortune telling?
Oh, this is Natural.
Oh.
Natural-born ability, yes.
Okay. Well, now what are we going to go through here? And by the way, these things always make me very nervous, no matter what the cause. I've got a thing about this. I don't know why.
Well, you shouldn't be nervous. I want you to relax.
Well, see, I can see you seeing right through me now. You can see all my secrets and everything, and I'm nervous.
It's mostly the cards in this case.
Ah, I see. Well, see, that's not I still feel guilty about stuff, you see.
You still feel guilty as if I was able to see right through you.
Exactly, yep.
Okay.
But that's why I don't go anywhere near hypnotists either. I've got a funny thing about that either.
Yes, just relax.
Okay.
Close your eyes.
Okay, now, hang on. It's the cards. What have I got to do with the cards?
You will just sit there and relax also and empty your mind, because I don't want
I did that before I came.
Yes, I don't want you to have anything in your mind, and I will lay them down right here. And as soon as I'm done with my layout, which is...
We're going to have a speed reading here,
Yes,
because there's a ceremonial mirror smashing.
Well, yes. Pick a card. Any card that you feel drawn to.
All right, I would take one there.
And that is your misfortune. Read it.
There is not yet a pill or shot for your health problems. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's kind of right. Yeah, I mean, they haven't got the right psychiatric drugs that would certainly help me. I know that for sure. Well, okay. And
well, you could have picked this card.
Life has no meaning, at least for you. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Hang on a minute. Are you saying these cards are all a general specific thing that could mean anything to anyone at any time?
Is that what I'm saying?
Are you? I think I've got some thinking to do, and you have a mirror to smash.
That's right, I do. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, dear, more thinking to do. I knew I shouldn't have come here. Thank you very much.
The Australian Skeptics National Convention for 2012 starts on Friday, November 30th with a cocktail evening at Melbourne's Immigration Museum, where you can meet and mingle with free and critical thinkers and some of your favourite skeptics. The convention theme is Active Skepticism, Changing for the Better, and continues over the 1st and 2nd of December at the stunning Spot Theatre at the University of Melbourne. The lineup so far includes James Randi, DJ Grothy, Brian Thompson, Rebecca Watson, Lawrence Lung, Ken Harvey, Rachel Dunlop, Richard Saunders and many, many others. A gala dinner will be held on the Saturday night at Melbourne's iconic Arts Centre. For more precise details and complete ticketing information, make your way to the Victorian Skeptics website and click on the blue button labelled Convention Details Here. You'll find more information on speakers, accommodation, transport and a photo gallery on the various venues. You can keep up with ongoing developments via the Facebook page that's curiously named Australian Skeptics National Convention 2012. And don't forget to follow OzSkepCon on Twitter.
Folks, you can hear that Tam is really in full swing. In fact, it's a little break now between sessions, and I'm back at the Australian Skeptics table. Lots of people, hundreds and hundreds of people milling around, but somebody who's come to sit next to me, who I met the other day, it's Liam. Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm well. Now, that's not an American accent.
No, I'm an expat. Originally from Perth, and I've been living in Las Vegas for a year now. And
living in Las Vegas.
Yes.
Is this the dream come true?
For the record, I'll have to say yes.
I'm glad to hear it. I like Las Vegas. It's a fun place to visit. I don't know about living here, but it certainly is a fun place to visit.
Yes.
Now, you were very... I am indebted to you, very grateful, because you offered to pick me up from the airport, which you did, which was fabulous. It's really nice to have a little bit of luxury like that. And then I discovered that you're involved in a very interesting organisation here.
Yes, it's the Secular Student Alliance. It's a network of about 240 groups around the nation, high schools, universities. Our local group consists of about 30 to 50 members, so 50 total, 30 regulars. I think the main thing is to have a community. So at least here in the United States, atheists, skeptics, very, very, very low percentage of the population. and it can also often be marginalizing being an atheist in the United States.
I absolutely believe that, and I guess it also depends on exactly where you are in the United States.
Yes.
You'd get different reactions.
Exactly, yes. To be fair, Las Vegas is probably one of the more friendly places around, yeah. We also do other things, though. We have group activities as a community. We also get speakers in, so you may have heard people like Ted Cox, Darryl Ray, PZ Myers, and Greta Christina.
I like the way you say PZ Myers.
I get in a lot of trouble with my American friends by saying that.
Well, of course, for our American listeners, Z is pronounced Z in Australia, but, I call him PZ because that's what everyone calls him, but, well...
We also do protests, actually. My first interaction with the group was the Westboro Baptist Church came to Las Vegas.
Oh, those famous guys, right? God hates everything.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes, that was a fun time. So that's how I found the group, and today I'm the public events officer for the group. So it's my responsibility to find interesting speakers, find prominent people in the skeptical and the atheist community, and see if we can get them to do talks for our group.
Fantastic. Now, if people are interested to find out more, what website should they visit?
The website to go to is secularstudents.org, and this is getting a pretty big movement in America, and I think there are some affiliate groups in Australia, so if you feel like you can organise and you get some friends together, then I highly suggest starting a group.
What a great idea, folks. You can also visit the show notes for this episode at skepticzone.tv to find out more. Well, Liam, again, thank you very much for being nice enough to collect me from the airport, and enjoy the rest of the amazing meeting.
Thank you very much for letting me on your show.
Hello, I'm Finn. I'm co-host of the Skepticons podcast, a podcast from Dublin, Ireland. We look at things of a skeptical nature from an Irish point of view. You can find us on www.skepticons.com. That's SKEPRECHAUNS.com. Please listen to us and give us some feedback. We love hearing from our listeners.
I'm at Skeptics in the pub, and we're in the usual airlock where I talk to people. Of course, people will walk past from time to time. I have Albert and Jean here. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And now, I believe you may be interested in taking the Skeptics Challenge here in Australia. What do you claim?
Well, we claim that Jean can read people's minds to a certain degree. That's their past experiences and their life in general. And she's been able to do this in the past.
Many times.
Many times.
Many times. When we were living in Hong Kong and in China, I like to do it with people I hadn't met before, because I wouldn't like to be cheating, but when it was people that I had to have an interpreter for me to tell them what I could see and feel, I felt that it was genuine, what I was saying.
And Jean, how did you discover this? With most people that have this ability, it's when they're younger and they kind of mention, how's it happen?
When we went to work in China and Hong Kong, the Kowloon Cricket Club was holding a fete. And they said to me, Jean, what would you like to do? What sort of stall would you like to head? And I didn't want to do a cake stall or anything like that. I said, look, put me in a tent and I'll read palms. I didn't think I could do it. I thought I was just joking.
Did you just give a go at it? Yeah.
Ah, yes.
Well, hang on, there's just some people coming through. So you thought you'd have a go at it as a bit of a joke? Yeah.
Yes. And I had two of the ladies, they got me the customers, because we had a lot of people come to the club. And I said, as long as I don't have to handle money, I'll be happy. Just ring a bell at the end of 10 minutes and they can go. And all I wanted them to say on my accuracy of reading their palms and looking at them and holding their pulse.
Score up to 10.
Give me a score out of 10. And I never got less than 9.
And what was... can you explain this? Can either of you explain how this has come about?
No.
We don't know. I have an idea that as we have electrical impulses in our biological build-up, that our mind has a certain range of electrical waves, if you like, brain waves or electrical wavelength, and maybe our wavelength will meet.
Do you think, perhaps, Jean, that you have quite a talent for cold reading people? You can read the reactions in their face and do it that way?
I had to go into China to open a factory, and I was one of the head guests, and I was sitting at the top table with all Chinese. I couldn't speak English, just my interpreter was sitting opposite me, and I had the chief of police of that whole province next to me, and I was getting a bit bored, and I said to the old policeman, the old police chief, I said, let me read your palm, and I'll get my interpreter across the table to translate. So I said to him, you've got two children, a boy and a girl. She kicked me under the table, one child, and she's trying to tell me to tell him one, and I said, no, he had a daughter and a son. I said, and he's looking at me, and I said, the daughter left home when she was 16, and you haven't heard from her since. But I said, it's a strange thing, both your children were adopted. Now, fancy telling a Chinese man that his family was adopted in China.
Yes, that's...
and I said...
You're going out on a limb there.
I was. I don't know where it was coming from, but I was worried. And she said, Jean, he's the police chief, I said, that's okay. I said, they're both adopted. I said, and your wife is not Chinese. Now, fancy coming out on a limb and telling him that.
Yeah.
I said, she comes from Cambodia. Oh, shit, I didn't even know where Cambodia was at that stage. I was so stupid. Anyway, yes. And I said, and I can see your wife is not well. I can see a wheelchair. She's going to be in a wheelchair. And a little bit later, and she's translating all this and trying to shut me up. And I said, I think she's got multiple sclerosis, which she did have, which she developed. And by this time, I wasn't looking at him, I was just holding his hand. His tears were pouring down his face. And he said, it's all true. He said, I've never had anyone read my life like you have. There's a lot more things I said to him that I can't remember now because this was 20 years ago.
And Jean, could you tell me when you see these things about people's lives, how do they appear? Do they appear as words? Do they appear as images? How do they appear to you?
Just comes out. I become very vocal, and I'm sort of not in a trance. I'm quite with it.
And Albert, how did you make of Jean's newfound ability after she thought she'd have a bit of a go at reading palms, and it turns out she can actually do something?
As a dyed-in-the-wool skeptic and atheist, I don't believe that it's a gift from outside spiritual or anything like that. And I just had to accept it. And not only did she have gained the ability to read people's past life, but also she wrote beautiful poetry. From that time, she wrote some very, very nice poems.
Yeah. And what I'm asking you is how do you suggest we test this? What is the way of testing this?
Well, I've asked Ian Bryce to come up with a criteria.
I don't know if I can do it with someone else. I was surprised I could do it. This is something that I don't do here. Albert wanted me to make money out of it in China.
No, I didn't want you to make money.
And I wasn't interested.
Well, I'm told that these powers, it's not good if you use them in the realm for money. I'm told this by a number of people. That it's not good, I use the word karma, to be doing that. I don't know.
We did discuss the possibility of staying in China or Hong Kong because every time we went for a trip to China as a tourist, and every time we stopped to try this out, big queues of people come up wanting to have they're very superstitious. So we could have stayed in China and probably made a fortune out of it. However, we got homesick and we got our family. We're married. We've been 62 years married.
Yeah, I got to say, well, you're two peas in a pod, that's for sure.
Yeah,
No, I don't believe in what he believes in. He's a real
atheist.
Atheist, and he'd start the revolution.
You're a troublemaker, Albert, but let's face it.
He'd like to start the revolution, get rid of banks and make everything a lot easier.
Have a word to me later, Albert. I could, I'm down on your side there. But you're much more holistic about the approach of it, or?
Well, when I came back here, I was talking to the ladies at the bowling club and said, I had a bit of fortunate in Hong Kong. I was a bit clairvoyant. And he was the head of the club. He said, I don't believe in all that crap, Jeannie. And I said, well, show me a hand. And I looked at it and I said, look, something terrible happened to you when you were 32 years old. Now, you listen to this. And I said, do you want me to continue? And he said, yes, because he didn't think I knew. I said, your wife died. She was an epileptic and she had a fit in the bath and drowned. Now, where the hell would I get that from?
That is a pretty amazing guess if it was a guess at anyone.
Wasn't a guess, it just came through.
How can you guess that sort of stuff?
I think I have got it, but I don't say I can get it to say you come up and I can get vibes from you and go through some bloody test on a stage, Forget it.
And what about...
I don't need $1 million.
Is it palms or what is it that normally activates what you've got?
Well, it's not only palms. I think it's just, say I hold your hand, I must get something from you. I don't know what it is.
It'd be probably I'm a fairly negative guy, so you'd be getting lots of negative vibes from me at the moment.
Let's have a look. Give us your glasses. I didn't bring my glasses.
Now, I got to warn you. I'm very worried. This sort of thing spooks me out. So don't say too much. I get freaked out. Might be with the Skeptics as a fellow traveller, but this stuff really freaks me out.
Well, show it should.
Yeah.
Because deep down you're not a skeptic.
Well, there you go.
There you are, see. I won't say any more.
Well, the problem is that the skeptics say I'm not a skeptic, and my paranormal friends say I'm not a real paranormal person either. So I get shot by both sides.
But you have the ability to be a lot more paranormal than you would believe.
Wow.
When you see this in my hand, that shows that I've got the gift.
And which exact fold is that? Sorry,
I'll show you. I saw it. Where did I see it? No, it's not gone. Oh, yes, here it is. Up there, and there. That's a big M. Look.
Okay. So it's like an inverted kind of Y.
Yeah, look. On both hands. See the M? Here we are. Here, better.
Okay.
See M?
Well, mailing...
And everyone that I've looked at, that shows that they're deeply into something. I won't say anymore, but look, you've got a good lifeline. You shouldn't have a feeling of doom. I know why you're worried, because there's heart conditions in your family.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah, I guess so, yeah, that is possible, but then again...
You think you're not going to have a long life?
Oh, I definitely think I'm not going to have a long life, probably next Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that, yeah. I am that fatalistic, you know.
You're not.
I am.
You are not.
I am.
Look at his hand, he tries to tell me that. Look.
Well, you can see a long lifeline there, but like I said, next Thursday at the latest for me.
I said you've got a good lifeline.
Oh, but getting back to how we test this, I mean, like you said...
How are you going to test it?
How are you going to test it?
We'll get 10 people from out there. Any 10. And
I don't know if I can do it. I don't particularly want to do it.
And we don't know whether it'll be a success or not. We just want to find out if...
I don't care for the $100 million.
Under strict conditions of testing, whether it's correct or not.
You understand that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and also it's kind of like it's got to be a black and white answer, and that also is not what it's kind of about, is it?
That's not what you're doing.
Yeah. So, look, I wish you both good luck with it, and I hope we can figure out some test, and if you want to go along with it, I guess it's to approach it with a bit of an open mind and see how you go and not be too worried either way.
Because the money is not important. It's not the money that is important.
I'd like someone to explain to me how I do it.
Yeah, how it's done.
I don't care.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying to you, I've spoken to many people that have a gift of some sort, and they all say it comes in different ways, shapes, numbers, shadows, just a voice.
I'm talking, it's like this?
Yeah, they all say in different ways, and the way it comes to you, it just seems to be almost sublingual. It comes shooting out of you like that.
It does. I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. Well, look, thank you for both talking to me, and I don't think we've heard the end of this, but it's been nice sharing a bit of quality time in a small corridor with you.
Albert gets carried away with $1 million, but I'm not interested in that.
Well, I'm not interested in $1 million. As a matter of fact, I've given most of my money away, and I've published a book called Civilization Hijacked, and the subtitle is Rescuing Jesus from Christianity and the Human Spirit from Bondage.
Oh. Look, Albert and Jean, thank you very much for talking to me, and I hope we can kind of devise some test. But it's been lovely talking to you both and hearing what you're both about in a nice, quiet environment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to us.
Great. Well, look, I've had a great chat with Albert and Jean, who are along tonight here, and I've got a copy of Albert's book, and let me tell you, him and me and the No Agenda Show are all on the same page, let me tell you.
Well, I had a brief chat to him too. He was asking questions after my talk, so I hope you found him interesting, Maynard.
Oh, look, they're a great couple, and I think the difficult thing is going to be devising a test that can work with clairvoyance, because, how is it normally tested around when they try that?
I think Richard mentioned earlier in his talk tonight, he mentioned the fact that people have to be able to state what their claim is, what they claim to do, under what conditions, and to what level of accuracy. I think Jean is obviously very sincere, but I think she would have very great difficulties around the first part of saying what it is that she can do. Because while she claims to be a clairvoyant, when I asked her how she actually does what she does, she couldn't explain, and then she actually read my palm. Do you want to hear about the palm reading she gave me?
Yeah, well, what did she say around? She read my palm, and I consider some of it to be accurate, what she said.
Okay, so she read my palm, and she said a few things. She said I had one boy whom she was introduced to earlier in the evening, and 2 girls, and whom she wasn't introduced to earlier in the evening, because I don't actually have 2 girls, I have 3 boys. She said I was easily led, which, considering the fact that I manage about 250 people, is probably not a very good way to describe me. And I'm the president of the Skeptics, so I don't know. And she knew that. I would have thought she may have thought about that as well. She said that I will have a very long life. I hope she's right about that one, but I think it'll take another 50 years or so to find out.
She said that I would have a long life. She said I was concerned about heart condition in my family. My dad does have a leaky heart valve. And she said that I'm not a real skeptic, and I think most people in this room would say that about me as well. So that's not a bad hit rate.
That's not a bad hit rate, but she also said that I'm not a real skeptic, and she knew I was from Israel, so she said that Judaism is actually very important to me, but I try to push it away, but it's not working, and I'm not a real skeptic. And the problem is that I grew up in a completely secular environment. My parents are skeptics. My grandparents were atheists. My grandparents were atheists. Maybe a generation before that there was some religion, but not hardcore. So there was I didn't grow up particularly Jewish, so there's nothing for me to retain. So she was wrong on that count as well. She also made some money mentions, which I not repeat, but were wrong. And overall, the kind of things she was right at were things like you have a need to be liked, unlike most people. I mean, really. And you have had a good life. You have had a charmed life. I'd say I had a pretty good life. She was probably right about that. But I live in Australia, and she said when you moved from Israel to Australia, and that really improved your situation. I mean, really, okay, So overall, 3 or 4 out of 10.
I think they were both very nice people, and I think they're very nice, genuine. I think you're just being a mean man again.
No, I actually think they are very nice people, and I've had a very long conversation with them, and I think I was perfectly polite, and I think they would probably say so if you asked them. And I explained to them also about how the fact that we seek evidence, it's just the way we test things. You want to believe this, fine. If you don't need evidence for yourself, that's fine. We're not going to try to force our views down your throat. But if you want to convince a skeptic, somebody who comes to this pub regularly and considers themselves to be a scientific skeptic, then you would have to provide evidence. And that evidence would have to be provided under appropriate test conditions. And we had a very long discussion about what appropriate test conditions are and why anecdotes do not count.
Well, I look forward to seeing a test that you might put together in the near future, if it's even possible.
Again, as I said, I don't think they'll be able to make a claim that would be testable.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone. Only one more episode to go and it's the big 200. And that's going to be worth listening to. We have a very good Maynard-type interview with DJ Grothy, the president of the James Randi Educational Foundation. And, wow, some really interesting stuff DJ has to tell Maynard and, of course, to tell you. Worth the wait. And that'll be followed by a special celebratory think tank. Yeah, the good old think tank's back, so I look very much forward to that. Now, before we wrap up the Skeptic Zone, a couple of announcements or a couple of websites I might recommend you visit. If you haven't checked out Spirit Questers, well, you should. Spirit Questers. It's sort of an answer to all those paranormal reality type shows. It's a spoof, it's a send-up, but it's really funny, and it draws attention to how silly these shows are and the logical fallacies and so on. Look, have a look. Spirit Questers can be found on YouTube at youtube.com/spiritquesters, or just follow the link on the show notes for this episode at www.skepticzone.tv. We also have a note from our dear friend Jay Novella at the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, who has launched a Kickstarter campaign for a new web series called Ock, the Skeptical Caveman. I think it's pronounced Ock, O-C-C. The Adventures of a Skeptical Caveman, which is also on YouTube. Just Google the Skeptical Caveman, and I'm sure you'll find out more about it. Now, that looks like a lot of fun, and the video they've made of the first Adventures of the Skeptical Caveman looked like it was so much fun to make, and a lot of the people behind the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe are involved in the production of that. So give it a look, The Skeptical Caveman. One last thing, thank you to all those people who have been writing in, saying how much they enjoy the interviews from Tam brought to us by Maynard. I've passed those on to Maynard, of course, but I'm with you. I absolutely agree with you. Those interviews that Maynard has been giving us from Tam have just been sensational, as you'll discover also next week with his interview with DJ Grothy. So I'll say it again, and I'll say it until everybody's sick of me saying it. Thank you to those people who chip into the Skeptic Zone so we can do things like send Maynard to the amazing meeting to get all those wonderful interviews. All those people who help us, who support the Skeptic Zone at www.skepticzone.tv. Sit back, have a drink, have the drink of your choice, and know with great satisfaction that you've helped us bring you these wonderful reports. Until next week. Until the big 200th episode of The Skeptic Zone, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia.
You've been listening to The Skeptic Zone. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for comments, contacts, and extra video reports.